What rooting hormone works best for rooting Japanese maple cuttings? That is a question often asked, and I have today a powdered rooting hormone, a liquid rooting hormone, and my trusted liquid rooting hormone that I always use. These two I was given, they were sent to me by Adam. Adam runs an own YouTube channel and also he runs a store. Have a look. I'm going to test these for him. He asked me, please take a look, see whether these work. Now, how am I going to do this? I'm going to put a red label and a white label and no label in the cuttings. And what am I going to cut? I'm going to cut my own Japanese maple variety. It is now middle of May. It's wet, it's cold, it's windy. Then what am I using for a pot? I'm using this container. Basically all you need is rooting medium. I'm going to use vermiculite mixed in with very fine pumice. This is just leftover siftings from my regular substrate. It's very, very fine. It's a bit dusty. And then I'm going to put them in this tray. And for this tray I have a humidity cover. Now these are for sale in any garden center, I think. At the bottom of the container, some very coarse substrate to cover the holes so it doesn't fall through. Simple as that. Let's get started. And I get many questions on my channel about substrate, about rooting hormones. I don't really think it matters all that much. As long as the substrate stays moist, has oxygen in it, and at the same time your cuttings are protected from drying out, it should work reasonably well. In the growing season, don't take cuttings that are too young. It needs to have some stability already. Now these holes are covered. Gently pour this over and I'll soak it in a second. And also this stage, don't overthink, right? It is just a matter of poking holes. Don't go all the way to the bottom. And they need to be big enough to take the cutting. Later on I will water this down so that the cuttings are really connected to the substrate. Now this maple is a very interesting one because it has very, very deep cut leaves, yet it makes a cork bark. This grew from seeds that are collected from Arakawa in a very large collection of Japanese maple. So this is a nice crossover and I'm propagating it and I want lots and lots of cuttings. I'm just taking the 2-leaf cutting, so just the stem with 2 leaves, cut off every second leaf, so it's just 1 leaf and a little stem going in this pot. Just like you normally would, right? Cut a branch off, take the cuttings. And to not destroy or pollute the rooting hormone, I'm taking a little bit off out of the bottle. Oh, nice and blue. This is the one, the liquid rooting hormone from Adam. Let's start with that. And I'm not sure what I said, but I'm going to use the red label. Pop the red label on the side here in the pot. That is Adam's liquid rooting hormone. I'm just grabbing a branch. I'm clipping and clipping 1 leaf and dipping it in. I'm just putting it to the side for a few minutes so that the rooting hormone can really be absorbed before I put it into the ground. Now, as I said, you want the branch to be a little bit mature. Here there's no active growing tip, but I'm still going to remove that last one. These are quite thin, to be honest, so let me find a thicker branch now for the next bunch of leaves. So this one came from the top. You see here this is still actively growing, so I am going to discard this tip. I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to remove every second leaf. Dip it. Let's see how far we've come. And stick these in. How many are actually in a row? I should do a little bit of a count so I actually know how many cuttings I'm taking. But I can do that later from the video. Right, I need a few more because I have 3 rows per type and I'm only halfway. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so that's 21 cuttings per hormone. Now in the past I've made the mistake of washing the cuttings out, so I'm really going to just gently squeeze these holes down. And then after that, once I've put everything in place, I'm going to water it. But at least this way I can't water them out of the holes. They're a little bit more firmly positioned as well this way, can't rotate. As you can see, it is windy, so I'm working quite rapidly. I'm not showing you every single step of every one, but I am going to be honestly going to do exactly the same thing. Now for the next patch, of course, get some rooting hormone, and in this case I'm going to go for the powdered rooting hormone from Adam. Put it here in the corner, otherwise it blows away. That was a little bit much, sorry, that is wastage. And do the same thing again with thicker and thinner cuttings. Trying to not drop them into the rooting hormone that is sitting there. These are quite thick, so I'm going to have to look for some thinner ones for the next round. And that is also 21 with the powdered rooting hormone, and let's just put the white marker here just for safety's sake, that I know later on really which is which. And now it is another 21 here, and I'm going to use my well-known commercial rooting hormone that I normally use for my cuttings and which always works. So it's basically a good comparison, ensuring that I'm not having problems in general with rooting, and it's really a rooting hormone difference if something doesn't work. Now, how do you stop getting massive fungal infections in cuttings and getting them moldy? I don't really know. For me, I usually just leave them in for maybe 4 weeks completely closed in the baggie, and then I open it up. But in this case, of course, I don't have a baggie to open. This will ventilate a little bit because there's little gaps on the side of this lid that I've bought. So I think this is just going to go in, and then I'm going to leave it alone for the first 6 weeks. Maybe once or twice, and I'll put the container in a shaded position where it just gets a little bit of sunlight. Maybe for an hour and a half each day. To me, key against mold is to make sure you remove these herbaceous tips, because those will wilt, they will foul, and not having them is a big benefit. And of course, for that your tree needs to be a little bit further in the growing season. The branches need to mature a little bit. Right, that is 63 cuttings with the liquid rooting hormone provided by Adam, powdered growth hormone by Adam, and a commercial which I often use for my Japanese maple cuttings, and I know that this works for this species. It's a bit of a mess. I'm going to clean this all up. Then I'm going to put the humidity dome over it and put it in semi-shade, so it just gets an hour or so of sunlight in the early morning, nothing more than that. Well, it is midwinter. These have all gone dormant. Most of them have also dropped their leaves, and now to just reduce fungal infections and other pests in here, I'm gently removing all the leaves, and I already see not all the cuttings are still alive, but as said before, in spring I will really check. And this is really something that needs to be done gently, because I don't want to pull any out if the leaves are still connected to the plant. Maybe I should actually be wiser. Something like this is clearly alive and something like this is clearly dead. This is dubious. Let's see how it looks in spring. It is early March. Spring has really started. You can hear the birds everywhere. Now, let's take a look. How did these cuttings do? How did the rooting hormone from Notion Bonsai do? 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows. That's there. 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows. That's there. 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows. Now let's do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 alive in this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 19 alive, 17 and 16 I think I said. And there's no real secure way to get these out, right? Get rid of the rubbish. So I have a spatula and I just gently try to squeeze that in there, low over the bottom of the pot, and lift everything until I see the cutting move. And then gently pull it out. So this is one cutting with reasonable roots. Another cutting here. Good roots. Now things like this I'm not going to pot up. There's hardly any roots on them. If there is any roots at all, they're weak. And it's not worth keeping them. I'd rather keep 10 healthy ones than trying to care for 20 more that are unhealthy. And these 10 healthy ones will grow quickly. They'll transplant well. And the ones without roots will just have weeks and weeks on end before they actually start doing something. Then I'd rather take a new batch this year and have strong ones next year. You see the masses of roots that these have? These are really, really strong. Right, so this is my normal rooting hormone. These make very, very long roots. There's only 2 roots on here. There's a bunch of roots on there, very long ones, very long ones. All of these are quite strong. Hardly any with short roots, right? These are all good. Now here is the powdered rooting hormone from Notion Bonsai. Also strong, long roots. All of these will also grow really, really well. I'm not going to... No, I don't think I see a lot of difference in the level of rooting. Maybe there are a few with a little bit shorter roots, but most of these are really, really healthy. And the liquid rooting hormone from Notion Bonsai, the same, right? Look at these roots. These are all very strong, healthy. Maybe the number of roots is a little bit lower. So my conclusion is that all 3 of these rooting hormones work really well. All of them have a very high percentage of rooting. All in all, I think maybe 10 or so did not root out of 60. So that's maybe 1 in 6, maybe 1 in 7. So that's pretty good, especially for home use. When you have no commercial interest, this is perfect, right? And now for me, I'm just going to prune back all these roots. I'm going to plant them up in pots and grow these on. There we have it. A whole tray, 24 new Japanese maples all potted up. Now going to water them. And then, because they've not really pushed, there's just the open buds. These can go in full sun right away. These will actually go into my greenhouse because at night there's still a little bit of frost. It's very nice and warm during the day, but at night, nah. Also, the birds are very curious. They will drop by, start looking in the pots, digging for stuff, pulling all these cuttings out again. And in the greenhouse, they're a little bit more protected.